I'd like to welcome everybody once again to another great interview on the Buffalo History Channel. We are at about 550 subscribers, and our watch time hours and analytics are really looking good. I'm very glad to see that. And to my audience and my subscribers, let's get this up to about 1,000 subscribers. And I got a real special treat for you. Not going to tell you what it is. I'm going to give you something real special, but we got to get them subscribers up first. But you're in for a really special treat with this one. You're gonna get to hear have two Buffalo historians chopping it up right here on the Buffalo History Channel. Now, this is a gentleman that I came to know in the mid 1990s, around 1996. I want to say it was between the summer and spring. And I was listening to WBLK one Sunday afternoon, early Sunday evening, and listening to the Insight Show with Marianne Majors. And he was a special guest, and he was talking about his historic efforts in revitalizing and putting on the map the Michigan Street Corridor. And his name is, and I'm very glad to have him on this show. He is the original founder of the Michigan Street Preservationist Corporation. And he's going to give us, because I mean, you hear a lot about the Michigan Street Corridor now, but what you don't hear about is it's how it came to be what it is today. And I am very glad to have the gentleman who spearheaded the effort to put Michigan Street back on the map and get it back to its prominence. I am very happy to welcome to the Buffalo History Channel, very good friend of mine and fellow Buffalo historian, the founder of the Michigan Street Preservation Corporation, also the owner of Motherland Connections. We're going to talk a lot about heritage tourism as well. Please welcome to the Buffalo History Channel, the one and only Kevin Cottrell. Kevin, welcome to the Buffalo History Channel.
Overrated, man. My time is gone. It's fast. Give it to the young bucks now. Oh my God! But it's an honor to be on your show, because Dave, I mean, really, you are a true historian, because you this is for the record, and you've always been a history buff, and I'm a history lover.
Oh yeah.
And so it's great to put it on record, because when I first started back in '88, there was no internet, there was no Instagram, there was none of that. So we had digital cameras, big ones.
Okay, so let's start from the very beginning. What was it that inspired you to get on this journey with revitalizing Michigan Street, and what was Michigan Street looking like at the time that you started your efforts?
It was a mystery. It was really a mystery. The bishop was a mystery to many in the community. It was really a mystery. And how I got started back in '88, I went to work for New York State Parks, and I became a naturalist, and I learned all this history, Euro history. And I remember reading an article in the Niagara Falls Gazette about the Underground Railroad. It was amazing. I didn't know any of that history was in our region. So I decided to put together a slideshow. So I'm really dating myself. A slideshow. Today you might call it a PowerPoint slideshow. And I remember putting it together and going out and doing it for local schools. I was the only one of color in the place. I did it all with my own research. And I would go out and I would do it. And it was a very popular program for the state. And then I got promoted to grants, and the museum, they were all white, were uncomfortable with it. So it just sat there, and they were still getting a lot of requests for it, and people were calling me. So I was on my own research. So I set up the program myself and went out and started doing the show. And so much so that in 1993, or a little sooner than that, the Castellani Art Museum, Sandra Olson at the time, was working on a public arts project by our artistic team called the Majozo and DePace. And basically, this is an artistic team that deals with site-specific art, and it has some installations around, the Underground Railroad, and they dealt with an area that was reminiscent of that history. And so the Castle on the Art Museum asked us to be like advisors to where these monuments might go. You know, they were contemporary pieces and we were really window dressing, but it was interesting to meet these people and that. And I mean, they went on to do some great things in New York City. They have, if you go into Schaumburg, there is, I forget what it's called, Many Rivers to Cross is the title. And it's in the floor, and they did that as well by Langston Hughes's poem. Well,
Okay.
make a long story short, we were so moved by that we wanted to do something more. So ultimately, we put together a 15-city, 18-day tour in the Underground Railroad. Charles Blockson was a consultant. We got T-shirts. We got $1,500 in T-shirts from Niagara University. Well, cash from Niagara University. We converted them into T-shirts. At the last minute, we got an old broken down church van, and we had some descendants from Harriet Tubman. And by the way, we didn't have internet. There was no internet.
No, there wasn't.
And so we basically got in that van and went down to Atlanta. We are talking to them over the phone. They kind of set their programming up around our arrival. We get there, never met them, never seen them. And they did some presentations on the Underground Railroad. The next day we had a parade showing Underground Railroad sites around the area. And 15 cities and 18 days later, we culminated in St. Catharines, and the National Park Service came in because at the time they were showcasing their national study on the Underground Railroad. So they wanted to showcase this grassroots effort. And that's how I got involved. And when I got back, and after we did all this stuff around that, people began calling us. And mind you now, 15 cities in 18 days, we stayed in people's basements and old churches in their homes and in the garages. I mean, we kind of mimic what it was like to be on the Underground Railroad, but not truly. But it was a moving experience, meeting the Stills family and having poultry readings around the trees. You know, when we were in Longwood Gardens and all the places that we saw. And when we got back, like I said, people began calling me saying we want to take that tour. And we were like, what tour? It's not a tour. It was a cultural pilgrimage. What are you talking about, a tour? And at that time, I was such a purist. I didn't want to mix in money with the cultural thing. And, we're pure. We're not here to bastardize it or commercialize it and the whole nine.
Mm-hmm.
And I came back and, looked at the Michigan Avenue Heritage Corridor. But then my background, though, see, at Parks, I was working for New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation. So technically, I was a SHPO officer, State Historic Preservation Office. I wasn't a official SHPO officer, but I regulated the grants, historic preservation grants. I got a chance to meet some really great preservationists in Buffalo, the Tim Tillmans, the Ted Lowneys. Got a chance to meet Dr. Joan Maynard, who discovered Weeksville, Stanley Lowe, who ran the National Trust for Historic Preservation. My background was preservation, bricks and mortar. And you didn't see our story in this story because urban removal at the time was knocking down everything.
Right.
And so at the time, I'm handling preservation grants and I'm talking to lots of preservationists in the area. And keep in mind now, Darren Martin House was just a dream. They were talking about it, but it wasn't happening yet. And I got the chance to meet Catherine Schweitzer and the Bob Cressies, and these were like giants in the preservation world in Buffalo. I mean, really. And so my whole thing was to weave in African-American historic preservation. And people, see, you don't hear preservationists. And what you hear today about the Preservation League jumping into the Michigan Avenue Heritage Corridor, that's fine. But I don't see anybody who looks like me. And at the time, back in 93 and 88, we really weren't there on a local level. So I came in with that. And at the time, and we saved the building 585 right next to Michigan Avenue here, right next to the church, because the guy was trying to knock it down, and me and a councilman.
I remember that. Yeah,
that was wild. We did it too. The councilman was, to his credit, I forget a young man's name, but
I believe that was Brian Davis, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. And let me just say this, and this is still true today. And this is why I get all crazed when I think about this effort that's happening down there. And preservation is the foundation, at least for me. See, we were losing our sites. We were losing
Right.
all of our historic sites because a shotgun shanty or an old building that tells our story it may not be as regal and as grand as a Darren Martin house, but it is every bit as important because it's part of the American mosaic and it makes up our story. And if you lose those tangible sites, and the whole thing about African American preservation was if you can find an old shotgun shanty and you can have some stories around it or anything that's historic, doesn't have to be pretty. If you have stories around it, you can shore it up. You can shore it up and keep the continuity of that community and also showcase it because we had a thing years ago talking about teaching using historic sites. So we're all about saving these structures, hence the Michigan Street Preservation Corporation. That is where it came from. And so preservation was everything. It was everything. And we had a joke with the Darren Martin house. The joke was you can hear this big sucking sound of money coming from Jewett Parkway, because all that money was going in there. And don't get me wrong, it's an incredible project. And Buffalo's on the rebound. I mean, Buffalo, not in my community, but Buffalo's coming up. All right. So that's where I came in at. And when we had Dr. Maynard come in and speak to Weeksville. I mean, people, if you don't know what Weeksville is, I mean, my God, it's this 19th century Black enclave that's in Brooklyn that they discovered it back in the 80s with a flyover. And buildings were there. Then we started working with the Cincinnati Freedom Center and the slave pen that they raided and bastardized and all those things that we did. I mean, that was in the New York Times. So preservation was everything, and that's why when I see things going on now in the preservation sector, they're not looking like me. Even back then, I don't even see the outreach. The preservations in Buffalo, they'll go out and they'll restore Hamlin Park or name it, they'll do Willett Park, but where are we? Where are the young people? Where are the people you're grooming? And see, preservation tends to be highbrow, and we were bringing all that down. And so with all that background, as I began to figure out what we can do at Michigan Avenue Heritage Quarter, and I really didn't know other than to save the building, period. Let's just save the structure. And so I go to a well-known preservationist. The only one that I knew of, and that was George Arthur. He was known as being a preservationist. So why not reach out to this man? Tell him what we're doing. I'm green behind the ears. I'm all wet. I don't know. I'm just trying to figure it all out, right? And so I got him involved. I remember getting our law firm. I sent, Business First had the top 50 everything. And there was some law firms, top 50 law firms, and I did a cover letter and I shot it out to the top 50. And Kavanaugh and Cook signed us out pro bono. I mean, free, whatever, pro bono. So that's what they did, And so, we started trying to figure things out, and we were, keep in mind now, there was no TripAdvisor, there was no tourism. Was just not happening. Even with Niagara Falls being what it was not happening tourism-wise.
You're basically pioneering a movement, basically.
And we didn't even know it.
Right.
We didn't even know it. No, we didn't even know it. But we're learning as we go. And the sad part is not much has changed. And I'll get to that. So, so we were learning. So, then we started working with George K. Arthur and all that stuff. And we started, actually before Arthur, I worked with the bishop for a very long time, Bishop Henderson, him and his wife. His kids are very young. And at the time we had gotten, Eve had passed this Underground Railroad commission that Eve had did. He had appointed me to the New York State Freedom Trail Commission. And it was the first one of its kind in the country. And I worked with Deputy Speaker Eve on the language to make that possible. And the governor, Pataki, came to Buffalo to sign that into law. And I had written the Sacred Sites grants because I used to do a lot of ghostwriting as a grant writer. So I wrote a Sacred Sites grant for the restoration of the roof because that was the first thing. And we were going to do the historic structures report. HSR, and that was really the reason for the HSR was the fact that if the church should ever burn down, God forbid, we can have an HSR report before it burned down, and we can build it exactly the way it was, every nook and cranny. And we lost that to Little Harlem. Never had one done, and that was a travesty when Little Harlem burned. I mean, we were down there. It was burned. It was a travesty. Oh my God, it was a travesty. So anyway, so that's what we did. So and so Taki came. We had the money, and he was going to award the money to us, and we took the award and the money. And in the 11th hour, the bishop, there's some people in the church, and the bishop came and said, we don't want you guys to do the church, but we want your money to do the roof. And we said we couldn't do that. Our lawyers are telling us that we're legally bound. If we give you the money and something happens, putting that roof on, people on the board are legally bound. So we had to give the money back. And a lot of local churches
basically they wanted the money without strings.
Yeah, and you can't do that with grant money.
No, you get certain
government gives you money. You gotta document every penny. That's what you got to do.
Right.
So we couldn't do it, and I knew that because that's my background as a grant writer. So we gave the money back, and churches who found out about it got all mad and upset about it. But what can we do? And I spent a lot of time with the bishop, getting that ready. But he was influenced by some other people in the church. I won't mention their names, but again, politics, basically.
Buffalo.
And so,
Buffalo.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Buffalo, right? So what happened then was I was kind of distraught. I'm like, oh, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? So I'm talking to the bishop one day, and he says, come over. So I came over to his house. I don't know, we started talking, and he takes me around and takes me up in the attic. And I go up in this attic, and I'm like, what? It was like I walked back into 1903.
Now, let me stop you right there. Now, now our audience should know that the bishop, for those that didn't know, the bishop was living in what the Nash house.
Let me tell you something. Yeah. And people, there are two names that should forever go down in the annals of the Michigan Avenue Heritage Quarter. And that is Bishop William Henderson.
Yes.
Because he held it down. He had the vision before anybody had the vision.
Absolutely.
He had it. All right. No one can take that away from him. And he was sometimes hard to work with, but he was mad. I mean, because he had been, who wouldn't be mad? I got mad. Politicians, the whole nine, your people. I mean, it was crazy. And he held it down. But here's the most critical thing. If it had not been for Bishop Henderson, all the artifacts that you see in the Nash House, and there were so many more, that's a whole nother issue. But, and that's after the fact. There were so many artifacts that Bishop Henderson was the man who held it down. And the story is, and I was there, is that Professor Nash, who I would always tease, he could tell me something Tuesday, and I wouldn't get it till like Friday. Professor Jared Nash. I mean, Jesse Nash, he was just an incredible man.
Yes,
man, he was an incredible man. He was just, oh man, so articulate. He was so smart. He was just so everything.
Yes.
And he gave the bishop, he had an arrangement with the bishop to live in the house and watch over the artifacts. And the bishop lived there for years, watching over these artifacts, living amongst them for years. And we saw them. I went and got Mr. Arthur. We could not believe it, what we were looking at. And politics got in the way, but we had arranged to have the bishop move out, and we were supposed to have given him some moving money. That never happened. Again, politics got in the way. I don't know, it just got in the way, and he never got money that was due to him for moving. But nevertheless, we began to archive the artifacts, and we brought in Dr. Monroe Fordham. I have never in my life met a man, Dr. Monroe Fordham, who it's always hard to talk about Dr. Fordham because he had his
I
heart
understand,
was
brother.
so big.
Yes,
He was just, man, you just wanted to be your dad. He was just this guy. You know, he
yes.
was really smart and intelligent, but he was
An
just
amazing man.
so, huh?
An amazing man.
Oh, he was
An
just
amazing man.
so humble, man. He was just so, I mean, and Dr. Fordham and his organization, the African American Historical Society, I think I'm calling it right.
Of the Niagara Frontier, yep.
Yeah, and they came in, and I was teaching at the University of Buffalo, thanks to Dr. Pappas, Dr. EK. You know, again, I'm old, right? I'm big. Dr. EK, Dr. Pappas. They allowed me to teach. They allowed me. I started having class at the Nash House. They allowed me to bring my classes to the Nash House, and Dr. Fordham would be there with his people, and we would do archival stuff. We would just do what we can do informally under his tutelage, so we didn't mess up anything. And then at some point, I had gotten a grant when I was teaching, and I moved the grant to pay for the students archiving the artifacts every Saturday morning. And Dr. Fordham was instrumental in all of that. Instrumental in all of it, really. I mean, the man. I mean, you can't. In my mind, because I was the one that got everything started. You can't talk about this story without Dr. Fordham.
Absolutely.
Anybody that does it is he's a name that doesn't get mentioned at all. And that's why I love what you're doing because this is for the record. And
Yes,
Dr.
absolutely.
Fordham was there. So but at this point I had left the the project because um you know when you when you're dealing with a savvy politician and you're young and naive,
Yeah.
you don't know. And he was eating our lunch. I mean, so one politician told me once, he said, "Oh, you got snuck." I'm like, big time, big time. Because in my
You ain't
mind,
got to tell me.
because in my mind, you take somebody up under you, or they run to you, you're supposed to nurture them. You're supposed to teach them. You're supposed to, you're supposed to teach them, this is where I went wrong, so don't do that. He was eating that lunch every day. And he had, not even illegal, he had just little did we know. And every time I said, let's get somebody, he said, this person needs to be on the board, that person needs to be on the board. Next thing you know, when it comes to a board vote, oh my God, we're all voted. And it was a decision that was just a bad decision. And I said, we can't do this. He said, let's take it to a vote. That's when I realized the board was stacked. I didn't know. And it was a bad decision that didn't even work. They hired someone to do the Nash House inventory and all of that stuff. And this person came in, and I knew he wasn't going to do it. I'm not going to even mention his name, but he's not here anymore. He's deceased. Um, and so the people that I had, we walked away. And there's one person that I must mention, Howell Wajet. Man, I'm telling you, if ever there was a whirlwind and a tornado and somebody who was like to the letter and getting it done, it was Howell. Oh my God. I tell you, it was just an incredible thing. She used to make Mr. Arthur so bad because she was right to the point, in terms of, in terms of board regents and law and all of that, she was just down. So we walked away. And the Michigan Avenue Heritage Quarter floundered for a number of years. I would probably say over 20 something years, it just sat idle. There was a politician, Crystal Peoples came in and did the commission and did all those things. There was some resistance on the part of Mr. Arthur, and then they hired some people to run the commission who really wasn't qualified. This one woman they hired, she was not qualified. She was awful. And then I remember having Catherine Schweitzer and Cressy and all of those preservationists reaching out to us because they really wanted to make this work. They really, really wanted to make this work. but they didn't want to get into that black thing. All right, and I don't blame them because the black thing was bad.
Yeah.
And and even when I was working up in Niagara Falls on the other Underground Railroad project, um, you know, I was told by my people, by the state bosses that I had in Niagara Falls, to not get involved in that New York State commission that was down there, on Michigan Avenue, because it just you couldn't get anything done. I would come to this executive director, and she was just so arrogant, and she didn't know anything. And she was so bad that when the board voted on getting another director, they voted for a white woman over her. People don't know that. That's fact. It was a lady who worked at Hadley Displays, but she admitted that she didn't know what she was doing. She was never in that position. But this person, executive director, was so bad that they voted for her. And see, the thing about this whole thing is that the community, I don't know. I mean, the community, I don't know if it was because of outreach. I don't know if it was because the community being the way Buffalo is. Let's call it what it is. There's a malaise in Buffalo,
Yeah.
that we're real late to stuff, and we are directed by people, by forces outside of our community. I mean, if you have O'Shai running around funding all the organizations, you can't say anything if you want your job. A good example, let's say you ran the Buffalo Urban League and you saw some real bad things going on in your community. You want to say something for the benefit of your community. You're not going to say anything unless you don't care about your livelihood. So a lot of that's happening all over again.
It's a
A lot
history
of
of
that's
that in
going on
Buffalo.
all over again. And I'll be 60 this year. And what's the day? What, February 13th, 2021? So I'll be
You'll be
60.
60, I'll be 50.
Yeah, see, so I've seen it. So and that's the great thing about what you're doing. So when people look this up, here's the story.
Right.
Because I'm gonna tell you, the only few people that I went and got was the Bishop Henderson and Mr. K and George K. Arthur. And unfortunately, both of those men have passed on. So I'm glad you're having me on. I wish I could have did it with them, but it needs to be told. And everything is factual. I'm a biophile, so I keep all of my stuff. Um, but the thing is, so it floundered, it floundered, and then I went to Niagara Falls, and I did the same thing up there, and man, Niagara Falls is just like a shootout corral. I had people coming to my office threatening me. I had Renee
Wow.
Kimball and some hench guys come up, and they were cops, and
Are you serious?
dude, man, let me tell you, people just don't know what I
Yeah,
dealt with, and I
please.
was
What's
alone.
all this about?
Dude, I felt like I was like butt naked in the middle of an intersection. No one would ever believe this. We had a paper called The Reporter, and Frank, the guy was slime. He just wrote anything and everything. And I learned a long time ago, you don't argue with a guy who orders ink by the drum. And he just slandered everything and everybody. And he was funded by Maziarz, and Maziarz hated the mayor. So Maziarz's job was going to destroy our project, and he didn't want us to do the customs house, and it was all politics, and we were caught up in the collateral. And I was alone because I'm trying to do this thing, and the state had loaned me out to the city to make this happen because the city had came to me, Charles Walker had came to me and asked me to do the project. And I was telling Charles, I can do the project, but just so you know, I'm running off what didn't work in the Michigan Avenue Heritage Corridor that I can make work here. So
Right.
I wasn't all that successful down there because politics got beyond me. So and I'm being honest about it. I don't have anything to hide. I'm not fronting. I know what I can and cannot do. And so we had this commission, and I'm doing my homework, and I'm trying to be on top of stuff, and I'm being attacked, and the Black community is not involved at all, right? And then One day the story, this was a front page paper. Maisie Harris had appointed Renee Kimball to our commission. And Renee Kimball made it clear that she was going to destroy our commission. So I was close to the vest, so I only talked to certain people up there. And when we had our meetings, I would do the itinerary and then they would do their meeting and I would just do the work and I got the consultants and all of the stuff that went on. And then I remember being in my office one day and I was walking around, a lady in City Hall said, some guys are looking for you, right? I'm like, okay. She said, there they go right there. So I was like, hey, you looking for me? So they said, yeah, come on. Come in my office, right? And they asked me about Renee Kimball. And then they pulled their chairs up to my desk, right? And they go, yeah, I hear you been talking about Renee Kimball. You called her a bitch. And I said, no, I didn't call her a bitch. I said, one bitch, one vote. That's what I said. I said, but I shouldn't have said that, I told him, because I have daughters, but the way she's been, accosting this commission, yeah, I did say that. I did say that. And he was like, well, you shouldn't have said that, blah, blah, blah. And I went, wait a minute, are you in my office threatening me? And so I found out later that there were two state troopers, and I was like, and I was like, wow. And so I said, I think y'all better leave, because I said, I'm uncomfortable now. So I went up to the mayor's office, and the mayor happened to be there. This is like 4:30 in the afternoon. And mayor was there, and the mayor brought in the corporation counsel, and I told him what happened. And we immediately called the press, and we called the police. I did a report because I felt threatened. And I mean that, and it didn't hit the front page paper in the Gazette the next day. Had her on and then the reporter was really after me. Oh my God, dude, they were really after me. It was incredible. I mean, every Monday it would be it would be like me on the front page of the reporter, with looking like a homeboy or saying that I mean, they even said that I made up Harriet Tubman. I made the story up, that she never came in Niagara Falls, and I made the story up. They actually said that. And the community didn't say boo, nothing. Man, it was crazy. They were after me. It was incredible. I remember when they finally got me, and I remember talking to the corporation counsel, and he said, well, and see, this is my word against his, but this is true. When we signed the MOU, I said to the corporation, he said, well, you can't do any tours. I said, wait a minute. I was clear about on the MOU that it's just me and my wife and maybe another person, and I have to be involved. And he says, well, you can't do it. I'm like, well, I have to be involved. And he says, well, if we go back and do this all over again, chances are you're not going to do it. So what are you going to do? He said, just don't get on the bus. And I went, okay, right? So, we did the tours the best way we could, but the reporter kept calling me and calling me and calling me. And it was really sad because on the day of my sister's funeral, I had going back to the airport in Charlotte, and I thought it was a teacher, and the teacher kept calling me, said, we want you to do a tour. And I said, I can't do the tour, but I got people who can do the tour. And they kept saying, no, we want you to do the tour. And, I got a real soft spot for teachers and students and all the stuff that we do. And so I said, I would just do it. I'll have somebody do it. And then I sent that person a quote, and I left my name on a quote, but I wasn't going to do the tour. And the next day, front page of the of the reporter, and then the next day the Gazette, then the next day Buffalo, Kevin Cottrell's caught doing tours, blah blah blah. It was crazy. And the mayor had to suspend me for a week because of that. And man, look, when all that was over, let me tell you, I was so glad to be a private person because I was not used to being in the public eye like that. I was not running for anything. And anybody will tell you that Niagara Falls politics, dude, it's for real. It's a blood sport. It is. Back then, it was a blood sport. It was absolutely a blood sport. But cut to the present day, the thing about the thing about all the things that are going on right now, the Michigan Avenue Heritage Corridor, the Underground Railroad Interpretive Center, all of that, I gave birth to all of that. And the sad part is that Black people ain't running, can you cuss? Sugar, honey, iced tea. They ain't running nothing. Nothing. The people down the Michigan Avenue quarter are enablers. They don't know, they can't spell tourism. And that's a fact. They can't. But the sad part is that the community is not holding them accountable. And Buffalo's on the come up. You look around Buffalo, man. I'm so proud of Buffalo. Look, I'm out. I'm not just on the sideline, casting aspersions.
Right.
All right. I'm in there. I'm doing tourism daily, every day. Every day I see what's happening and what's not happening. When you get to the Underground Railroad Interpretive Center, I'm gonna tell you the truth. Niagara University, when I was up there, was never really truly about the Black community, ever. When I was there with Sandra Olson, Sandra was a nice lady, and the Cassani Art Museum, gave me my start to get things going. But at the same time, they tried to take over, and we rebuffed that. We didn't know what we were doing, but we rebuffed that. And then NU is the same way. And now today, NU, and I know the inside baseball history of the Underground Railroad Interpretive Center. On opening day, the university staff, the people at NU were trying to take over the opening. And there was a drag out, shoot them down fight, not physically, between Niagara University and the people who were involved in the Interpretive Center. I had to walk away from the Interpretive Center, and then they asked me to come back, and I did not come back because I said to them, if I come back, because I have been so kind of traumatized by the reporter that I figured if I came back, it's going to be too much scrutiny on me, and it's going to get away from the project. And so I stayed away, and I supported it. But the problem that I have today is that the Underground Railroad Interpretive Center is run by people who are not from our community. And I don't want to sound like a racist, but this is fact. This is, if you get nothing else from me today, this is what you need to get. Heritage tourism, it ain't PC.
Right.
It's not.
Absolutely not.
Okay, if I go into an Irish restaurant, I want to know there's an Irishman in the kitchen cooking.
That's right.
Okay, if I go to a Chinese restaurant, I want to know there's a Chinaman in there cooking. That's how it is.
Right. You don't see that with any other culture.
Only us. And you know what? In the Southeast where you are, many of my clients come from your area, it's different. Right. It's dude, Black meetings and tourism planners, this is a national magazine. I've been in it a few times. You don't see us. You don't see us here. Now, I will say that the Buffalo Convention and Visitors Bureau, out of all the CVBs, the two in Buffalo, the one in Buffalo, one in Niagara Falls, this one here in Buffalo is the best. Leah Mueller, Karen Cox, and Williamson. What's her first name? Dion. It's been a pleasure to work with them. I learned a lot from them. They've helped me a lot. I mean, there's some diversity there. Could be more, but there's some diversity there. But the community's not involved. Over the years, Deanna and them have tried to get the community involved. It's been tough to do it. Up in Niagara Falls, and this came out the other day, last year, when they did a piece on the Underground Railroad Interpretive Center. They have Allie, whatever her name is. They have two women in charge of the Interpretive Center, and then you have the frontline people, Saladin, whoever his name is. They're like faces, they're fronts, and And I'm like, am I the only one looking at this? You know, I can remember once bringing a group. I had a group of Masons that came in, and when they heard that, they were upset at me because they said to me, if we known that this center was not run by people of color telling our story, we wouldn't have come here. They told me that. And they were upset. And that reflected bad on me because I didn't want to air my dirty laundry. So I didn't want to go there with that. So you have, and see, with African American life and history, you have nuances of how we travel. And we're still learning every day. So it's a learning experience. And I'm the only girl in town, so I'm not learning from anybody. I'm just like trial and error. And so, you know, and gone is the day. See what's happening now currently? I'm jumping to contemporary times. This whole east
The East Side corridor with the Freedom Wall and
oh
Bethlehem.
no, brother, you got to see this. Go back to their site, East Side Avenues. There's this money coming in from the state of New York, and they're going to restore all these avenues. Michigan Avenue. I don't give about so much money. Michigan Avenue, Jefferson, Bailey, the commercial. I'm sorry, the train station and the Broadway Market.
Which they're basically gentrifying, basically.
Oh yeah. Oh, and let me tell you, the Central Terminal is going to be the new Darren Martin House. That's where all the money's going to go. And you know the crazy part? People don't get this. And why wouldn't they run Michigan Avenue Heritage Corridor right into the commercial slip? Because Doug's died. Doug's there. Doug's died. Yeah. That history's there. So why not run that in? You know, and then you have these people who are calling the shots that are being abled by people like you and me. And I'm going, if the people who are running everything, like the state, and I worked for the state at the time, so I've never been impressed with the state, you know, and my whole thing is, okay, fine. If the state is so good in tourism, then show me the fruit. That's all you got to do. Show me the heritage tourism that is happening in the Buffalo, New York area. It's just starting to come online in the last few years. It is starting to come, all right? Show me the fruit of heritage tourism in Niagara Falls. There is none. So these so-called people who are, quote, the consultants, it's a joke and it's insulting. But the people who are like you and me down in the Michigan Avenue Heritage area who are enablers, they don't know any better. They don't really know any better. And you know what? And here's the other rub. See, it's good that I can say this for the record, but quite frankly, I don't expect anything out of my community. All I can do is put it to you, and you go with it as you might. Yeah. All right, but here's the deal. So this project, the $1 billion thing, right? Buffalo Billion, right? And you know, they got 5 years. 5 years. 5 years. Tourism. When you deal with tourism, it is always a year out. So right now I'm in 2021, but I'm really dealing with 2022. That's where I'm at. All right, that's where everybody is. We're going to try to capture some of 2021, but COVID and everything happening. And then on top of that, you have any kind of new product to the industry. It's a 3-year turnaround. 3 years. Wow. Turnaround. To introduce a new product. Okay? And I have single-handedly put Michigan Avenue Heritage Corridor on the market because I'm the only girl in town bringing bus groups in. And I bring people, coaches. I bring hundreds of people, thousands sometimes, depending on the year. So I bring them in, and it's not visitor friendly, visitor ready, like they always said. And now here comes the state, and the state, you know, I applied for the job, and you know, whatever. But you know, because I had the experience, they hired somebody.
You tried to apply for the job, and they told you,
Names
On
to my
everything you
resume.
did, you didn't have experience.
Yeah, exactly. But see,
Yep.
that's the setup.
Yep.
See, that is the setup. Think about it. So you bring this guy in. I have nothing against the young man. I have nothing against him. I hope I'm wrong. But I'm doing sales missions now, and I don't see them. I don't see them out here. I'm doing sales missions now.
Okay.
All right, working with Convention and Visitors Bureaus, that kind of thing. And the whole thing is, if they, I'm assuming they got a bonus year, maybe, right? So if you are going, I'm hearing that they're going to bring in consultant, African American consultant. So the consultant's going to take a year to reassess everything and then do up a study, and that's 2 years, give it to the community, and then the community is supposed to run with it. And I'm telling you, man, if you're one of those people that is just happy, because that's what it sounds like, for the commission, because the state's going to come in and polish up the buildings. I guess you build it, they'll come, which is crazy. If you're just happy to look at the church and go, look at it, it's pretty, it's proud. Aren't you proud? Dude, that is so 1970s. That is crazy. That is crazy. It's not about that. It's about the economic side. And see, here's the thing that people don't realize in Buffalo. We were down in Michigan Avenue Heritage Quarter before there was any kind of speculation. We're down there in 88. We're down there in 93, before there was any kind of speculation. So I don't hear anybody talking about the economic side of tourism.
And that's
All
an
I
interesting
hear,
point too, because when you go, I can remember when I went on the trip with you all in '98.
yeah,
there were places that we could go to eat. There
mhm,
were things that we could buy.
yes,
Some mementos, like a
yes,
T-shirt or a poster
man.
or
The
postcards or something like that.
masses, they can't wait to spend money
Mhm.
on what they see, what they've been hearing about for the past 4 hours. If I went to a stop and somebody had 50 books on Harriet Tubman, they would buy all 50 books for that hour and a half for that 45 minutes that I was there.
Mhm.
So people want to buy. They they want to capture the experience. They want that. So in the early days, I was a purist and money was like, oh, dude, you know what? I was telling people back then that tourism was going to be the avenue to restore the structures that were falling down to the Wreckers Ball. And so, and I was kind of radical because I was saying to National Park Service, because I used to meet with them all the time, I was saying to them, yeah, the site might not be on the state historic, might not be on the state and national register. And yes, it doesn't qualify the Secretary of Interior standards. But when I bring people there, John Q. Public don't give a damn. They're just happy that it's still standing and that they can tell a story around it. And if you can compound that visitation, because everybody on that bus is going to pay $3 to $5. And if you can do that every day, not just me, but the other operators who are waiting in the wings to come after me, they're waiting. They're like, they always say to me, Kevin, we can't get down to the Michigan Avenue corridor. We got to make all these 20 calls. They're waiting, right?
Nothing's
And
open, basically.
nothing's open. And so, and maybe it'll be better this year, but the whole thing is, it's about the economics of it. I mean, think about it this way. I always say this, and I used to bring tours to Maddie's, and I used to go all the time up to the what's the place? The restaurants changed hands so many times. It was a Jamaican restaurant. It was up on Main near West Ferry, East Ferry.
Oh, you're talking about
Birchfields. It changed so many
Pilgrims.
times. Yeah,
Okay,
dude,
yeah.
it was perfect. It was wonderful, right? And again, I could bring him. I had 2 buses here one day. I could bring him 96 people times $14 and be there for an hour and a half and keep moving. cash transaction. I write him a check. We keep moving. He's happy. We're happy. And the food was good. Okay, so that's heritage tourism. So, bringing somebody 47 people that might not even get 47 people in a week, that's heritage tourism. So to have the people that you have right now in the Michigan Avenue Heritage Quarter, they are clueless. They don't get it. They don't know, and they're in the way. But now they have people, and again, like I said, heritage tourism is personal. Of course, I'm going to be passionate because I'm telling you the story. I'm letting you in to tell you the story.
I mean, it's only natural.
Yeah, I'm telling you the story of your people, my people, our people, my ancestors, my aunts, my great aunts, my great grandmother. I'm telling the story, and I don't have anybody over me telling me that that's not right. I remember once when I was doing reenactments, one of the tour operators that said to me, one of the CVPs years ago, that said to me, that's never going to fly. No one's going to want to do a reenactment. Man, I used to show them letters, people write me letters saying they're changing my life. It was amazing. People were crying. You know what I'm saying? So don't tell me that kind of stuff because you can't know. You cannot know. I didn't even know until I did it. So when people come to me and who don't look like me, I'm sorry. And I don't mean to be racist, I don't. But in this avenue of heritage tourism, where I am, it is not PC. It is not. I do Amish tours. All right. When I take a bus down to the Amish country, I don't do an Amish tour. I let the local people who are Amish or the people who live in the region step up on the bus and do the tour for us because they know the nuances. They know what it is to do. I'm not just burrowing through the air my bus. Hey, here we are. No. And see, that's what's happening in the Michigan Avenue Heritage Quarter. And you know what? And I got to tell you, I wish the guy Terry luck, but I'm telling you, I'm already seeing the fact that I'm on sales missions in Michigan Avenue Heritage Quarter.
Terry's a good brother. So
yeah, I got nothing against him.
I definitely wish
I got nothing against Terry. I don't even know him.
Right.
I wish it works.
Yeah.
But it just seems to me the same old trick. You hire somebody who don't really have the experience or aren't really able to tell you, state EC, Empire State Development people can't tell you, what the marketplace is. I mean, do people even know what's happening with COVID? I mean, tourism is like, it's like the computer age. Tourism is booming. I forget the figures on it, but it's in the billions of dollars.
Speaking tourism of that, we've been doing a lot of talking. I want to go into you started your own company, Motherland Connections. Can we talk about Motherland Connections as well as the tour that I took with you all in 1998?
We've come a long way. I got my shirt on. I took a bath with merchandising, but I got the shirt on. I'm excited because tourism gets bigger and bigger every year, and I love doing what I do. People who travel are worldly. They're educated. They know what they want. Gone are the days of going to some church basement and having a chicken dinner for $4 in an unair conditioned basement. Are you kidding me? They don't want that. I don't care if the chicken dinner is $2. They want ambiance. They are world travelers. I mean, this is, and it's global. It's global. I would say that 95% of my business, 98% of my business is not local. I market to the world. People come here, and that's how we're blessed. Is that people come here, they come see Niagara Falls. Niagara Falls is a destination. Buffalo not necessarily is a destination, but it's right next door to Niagara Falls. But Buffalo's on the come up. I was on a tour. I had this guy on double decker, I forget his name, Joel, did a double decker tour for us one day in South Buffalo on the other side of the Perry Projects. On the other side, did you hear what I said? on the other side of the undeveloped Perry projects.
Right.
And he told the Buffalo Irish story, and he did it in costume, and it was incredible. In my marketplace, I have these seniors coming out of Rochester. They're about probably in their 70s, and they come see me. I get 4 or 5 buses every season of these singers, and they loved it. And he's good. So, you know what I mean? So those are the things that are happening, but it's not happening in Buffalo. A good example, my man Lion, right? Talking to
Lion
him one
White,
day.
UNIA.
I was talking to him one day, and he showed me this video. I had never met him, about Marcus Garvey, and I was floored because I didn't know that all of that history went on in the region and the Michigan Avenue Heritage Quarter. And the thing about the Michigan Avenue Heritage Quarter is those buildings, historically, historic preservation speaking, those buildings are incredible. You want to talk about Art Deco and buildings that's one of a kind? Go venture down the side streets. I mean, you'll be amazed, right? And he took me to some of these buildings, and I'm like, dude, you have to do this tour. I'll help you set it up,
Right.
and we'll do it for the local. That's not your base though. We'll do it for the local, but we'll put it online and we'll market it to the world. And then when we get calls or you get calls, I'll help you set it up, and you just do it. I don't want anything. You just do it.
Right.
And he told me that he went to the Michigan Avenue Heritage Corridor people, I don't know who, and they told him that history was too radical.
Oh, come on.
Dude. Now, anybody black, if somebody black
based on radicalism.
Thank you. So if somebody black told him that, then you got to question who's down there supposedly looking out for us.
Right.
And if somebody up top told the person who looks like you and me that, then there's my point. There's my point. So, and the thing that I'm hearing now, Buff State, UB, let me just say this to people so they'll know. Buffalo State is primarily, you don't even think about Buffalo State as tourism, really. And I went to Buffalo State. You think about Buffalo State as other teachers and all that, but they do have a hotel curriculum. And it's more dealing with hospitality than it is anything else. But if you're going to deal with hospitality, that is Niagara University's bailiwick. They do hospitality. Right. As a matter of fact, they're supposed to be unleashing some tourism initiative, tourism center coming out of NU, going to have to be set up in Niagara Falls. And I will tell you, unless they look at this after I say this, they ain't never been in university. There's nobody of color working for the NTCC. Never. They're not working there. There are no black board members there. They're not there. In Niagara University, when that comes down, there won't be anybody. I'm the only girl in town, and I haven't even been asked. Not that I would even do it, but I'm just saying. So, I'm just saying to people, you need to wake up because it's really about dollars. And the people who look like you, I mean, maybe selling out is a strong word, but man, they don't have your interest because they don't know. And they're sitting in power as though they know, and they're not sitting and doing nothing. They're waiting for, the people from UB and the people from, go to their site. They have a speaker series. I'm not knocking the speaker series, but to me, if you're going to have a speaker series, maybe have somebody who can talk about tourism from around the country, come and talk to the people in the community, or however you do it virtually, about topics that relate to having the community come up. Right. Because again, if all you're going to do is polish off the Michigan Street building and say, "Oh, this is our story, and I'm so proud." Dude, for real? Are you serious? And let me just say this to you, and this is gonna make people mad. I don't care. I swear I don't care. The wall. The wall.
The Freedom Wall.
Oh my God. Okay.
Okay.
Couple things. If you're gonna do the wall, the first thing is you pay homage to Bill Cooper.
Oh my God.
And I had an artist tell me this. I won't mention her name. Some idea.
I did not even think about
Oh,
Bill
she
Cooper.
told me. I'm
I
not even
feel bad
done.
about.
I'm
feeling bad right now.
I'm not even done. She said, if you're gonna have a wall, you must commemorate Bill Cooper and William West. You can't even have a wall. And if you're gonna have any pictures that are there, you start off with those two people. Okay, that's one.
I'm
I'm not even
regretful because
done.
I didn't even think about those two myself.
Dude,
Wow.
I'm not even done. And so this whole mural program, let me tell you, we were running tours of Philly back in 95, 97, 98. Philadelphia had a mural program out of this world. I mean, we ran tours up through Temple University, and they had the big giant pictures of Dr. J on the side of the building. It was a big deal. The mural program has been out. We're again, Buffalo, we're late.
Well,
right?
I've heard across the board that there was some disagreement with certain with who was on the wall and who wasn't on.
Well, let me tell you about the whole thing. Again, I get this from a good source. I guess Albright Knox had hired somebody that didn't look like us and about some kind of project, and people got mad, and so they threw us a bone. They threw us a bone, gave us the wall.
I was aware that there was some controversy.
Yeah, that's how the wall became.
And I remember the original idea for that. I was at a meeting for that, so maybe a few years earlier.
I don't know all the details.
Yeah.
But that's how the wall became. Now, here's my problem with the wall. I think the wall is incredible. I think the artwork on the wall is great.
Absolutely. Much respect to the artist.
Right, much respect. But if you're going to have the wall, it needs to be a chronological story of the history of Black Buffalo. You need to have from Joseph Hodge.
Oh, absolutely.
And pick the people who are important to the development of Black Buffalo up to current. So there are people on the wall who I have a lot of respect, I have a lot of respect for, and they're on the wall and they're still alive, which baffles me. So I don't think you get to be on a wall alive. I think you have to be deceased to be on the wall. But at the same time, those people that are on the wall aren't people that to me talk about the development of Black Buffalo on an overall macro picture. You know what I mean? I don't want to say anybody's names, but you know, but you tell the story of Black Buffalo, and I'll give you an example. When I do my tours, and I'm running around in the 15-passenger van, I really don't go down to that end of Michigan Avenue. And the one time that I did go down there, I drove by the wall, and the people in the van liked it. They weren't from the area, but they were saying there were some people on the wall that are national figures that have never been here. And those national figures that have never, they're important, but if they've never been here, they should not be on the wall. I'm not saying they're not important, but are they important to the development of Black Buffalo? So I would like to be able to drive by the wall and in a snap, be able to go from Joseph Hodge, I drive by really slow, I'm crawling and pointing out figures that made up Black Buffalo as we head down to the Michigan Avenue corridor. Right. So the wall, I get people mad when I say it, but the wall, it doesn't work. I mean, it's a proud focal point that's fine. But I'm really about functionality. You know, I mean, see the thing about some of the scholars in this area who really we fought hell from the scholars here. Because I don't have a PhD. I won't mention their names. But see, my thing is most scholars that I know, I mean, here locally, the scholars that I know around the country that I work with is different. The scholars that I know here, they're just, they know the history and they regurgitate it to you, but it doesn't come alive. It ain't functional. It doesn't. So what? It's almost like a quiz show. I know more than you. I know this. Do you know this? Now you know this. That's kind of stagnant, bro. You know, you need to, in my world, you need to bring it off the page. You know, I had a professor tell me once, he said, you know what? You educate more people than we do because we get certain amount of kids per semester all summer long. You have a bus load of people and you're doing the same tour all the time, you know, and my tour is the van or the bus is a mobile classroom. So I have people who are in first person who do it. I'm not that good. So I'm just the facts jack. I just, you know, because facts to you. So, but the thing is, Michigan Avenue Heritage Quarter, here's the other thing. Michigan Avenue Heritage Quarter, you ain't the only girl in town anymore. See, that's the other thing. I go down to Cherry Creek. I'm in East Aurora. You know, William Wells Brown and people like that were down there. You know, you saw my website. What's her name? The first woman suffragette, Sojourner Truth.
Right.
You know, she was at the church. We tell that story. Carmen Suarez, you know, in Deanna, they reenactors. They tell that story, and it's a reenactment. It's live, you know, and it's accurate and it's comprehensive, you know. So we do that, or we might be, you know, I might do Buffalo. You know, Buffalo was the old thing, and I'll still do it if it's available. But now, you know, I don't know yet because it's going to be, you know. I don't know what 2021 is going to do down there. I kind of got an idea, but I don't really know. But then I'm up in Niagara Falls. I'm in Niagara Falls doing Underground Railroad sites. I'm in Lewiston. I'm in Lockport connecting the Underground Railroad to the Erie Canal. You know, I'm in Newfane with Murphy's Orchard doing that. You know, I get people like this guy here from the Visitors Bureau in Hampton, Virginia, you know, sent me information saying, Kevin, we need you to come down. We want to start marketing, you know, our region up to your area. You know, Hampton, Virginia, are you kidding me? I'm like, that's not hard to do. So, but I'm just saying, but remember that he has 5 years, they're a year in. The consultant's going to hit the ground running. I'm sorry, he's not going to hit the ground running. He's going to come in. He should be here now, really. But it's going to take him a whole year just to suck up all of this information of what Buffalo is and then to give it to you in a report. And what, we need another report? We need another report? You know, so my whole thing is you need to have somebody that can hit the ground running to make this happen. And like I said, I've not been impressed with the local tourism professionals here. Some have been helpful. I have not been impressed. And again, just look around. Don't listen to what I say. Look around. You know, Buffalo's booming. The commercial slip, Hurdle Avenue, Elmwood Avenue, not UB, Buff State over in that area, Hotel Henry, all of that. Even on the other side of the Perry projects. I mean, my God, Joe took me over there, and then he took us to the Lafayette Hotel.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, I used to be a kid coming out of Main Place Mall and waiting there for my bus to go down Clinton Street, and we wait in that lobby. I did not know the Hotel Lafayette had so much history. They did a great job in restoring it. They did a great job.
Yep.
And we've been out of the gate since what, 93. And what we got, it's almost like we're starting all over again. Are you serious?
Yeah.
I mean, and then I'm the bad guy because I'm telling you people that's down in Michigan Avenue, Harris Quarter, are you serious? You know, they had a thing about diversity in the Buffalo Perspectives, and they were like, one of the people in the Perspective says, what's got to happen is you gotta throw everybody out and change up everything, and that's so true. But they were talking about diversity, and you know, like I know, bro, you know, like I know. You know, growing up in Buffalo, I lived on the east side of Buffalo. We called South Buffalo Jimmy Griffin land. You know, that's what we called it. You know, we went down to the
We
valley. We
still
went
call
to
it that.
Lovejoy. Man, you get beat up down there. You know,
Yep.
and so you know, we knew all that stuff, but the people, you know, it's just not happening. And then here's my thing. And this is the thing and this is just personal to me, and this is political. We've never seen people, even today, when I go into agencies or I go into government entities, I don't see anybody that looks like me. I just don't. Maybe with Black Lives Matter, it'll change. I doubt it.
Yep.
All right, I really doubt it. But at the same time, you know, the diversity that I see really is those people who don't look like me running our institutions. That's what I see. And all you guys, don't ask me. Go talk to somebody over at the. Go talk to somebody over at the. I knew Agnes. Agnes was a lovely person at the African American Cultural Center. Ask them what's going on there. All right. I mean, those Shy's running that. You know, talk to somebody from the Colored Musicians Club other than Mr. Scott and listen to the stories that they'll tell you that shook me. I was like, whoa. I didn't know that was going on. You know, some of the musicians. I don't know this. It's just what I heard. Guy called me. I didn't even know him from a can of paint. You know, talked about how a lot of musicians are leaving the Colored Musicians Club because there's more white guys coming in there and playing, and they can't get time to play, and they can't make the money, and they got to go out and do their own thing. I don't know that. All I know is I've heard that story a number of times, from total strangers. So, you know, you got to ask yourself, what is going on here? What is going on? And I'm the bad guy because I'm questioning it. And the whole thing is, I'll question it. But you know what? Those people that I'm questioning, they don't have anything to worry about because the way we are here, we're in the malaise. Somebody told me once that we're so downtrodden, beat that we just don't do anything. I believe that, but I also believe, like you and my children, the people worth their salt, they have left. Yep. Because you just can't get anything done here in our community.
I love Buffalo, myself, but I had to have a life. I had to make a life for myself.
I know, and you can't do it here.
For me to do it there.
You know, and the politicians have sold us out, and you know, and then because they can't do anything else, and then you got the community leaders who, you know, are funded by government money, so they can't say anything. So I mean that's how we're living. So anybody worth their salt has left, and in my case, I'm out. You know, I gonna do my tours all summer long, and then in the wintertime, I'm gone. And then I'll be doing, now that I'm retired, I'll be doing more stuff around the country, and I'm really gonna ignite tourism because I'm excited about the possibilities. Let me just tell you how serious tourism is.
Okay.
In 2020, I canceled a number of tours. People were calling me wanting to do tours. I'm like, what? I'm like, why? You know, and I'm telling them I'm not doing the tour. I don't want to be in a van. I don't want to be on a bus. I don't want to catch COVID. Why are you doing the tour? And people are telling me, we got to get out of the house. We want to be normal. We just got to leave. And so people were traveling then, and they're going to travel now. And let me tell you, 2021 will probably come back a little more than half. And then 2022 with the vaccine, oh man,
It's on.
oh, it's on. It's on. It is on. And my tours, like I said, and then I do Southern Ontario. I might do up to Windsor, Chatham, Dresden. I did tours to take people to Detroit. I may do the Canadian tour where I'm on, the Harry Tubman tour that we do in St. Catharines. And then we go on wine country. I do a wine tasting there. And then we go with Governor Simcoe. I mean, and we talk about all those things. I mean, and
Right.
tourists, they come here, bro. They come here. Now, if I was at East Polbuck somewhere, maybe it'd be hard, but they come here. And with my tours, I'm always able to weave in. I mean, my tours are like 2 for 1 in that you can't come in Niagara Falls and not talk about the connection to the falls. The falls was to slavery and the Underground Railroad.
Mm-hmm.
The falls was the world's original tourism attraction. There was no slavery here after 1850. And so people came with their body servants. Well, the people, let me get this right. Before 1850, people would come and they would, they came with 3, they would leave with none, maybe they left with 1, and then people started coming after slavery was abolished here. And then you had the hotel operators who operated the Cataract House, and they would live on the Canadian side during the off season. So you had, had it been 19th century, you had free blacks and you had, enslaved people walking around Niagara Falls. So we tell that story, and people love that connection because they're here to see the falls anyway. And the fact that we do it in costume, I can't imagine not doing it. I love costume. Yeah. I don't act though, but I like wearing a good 19th century suit.
We gotta get ready. I want to get ready to wrap up.
Okay.
But it's anything else that you'd like to add? Any information about
like I said, if you get nothing else from me, because I'm only as good as what I have on the ground. And like I said, I'm very proud of Buffalo. It's on a come up, but in my community, it is not. And if you get nothing else from me, the people who are running, who are calling the shots for the Michigan Avenue Heritage Quarter, they to me, in my mind, they're the same kind of people that I saw storming the Capitol. I mean, that's just, wow. And that's terrible to say. But there's one that I do know who's a retiring lawyer, and he was every bit of that. And he calls the shots. So, I just wish that our community will wake up to the fact that Michigan Avenue Heritage Corridor, although we're late out of the gate, unfortunately, we were ahead of everybody, but it was our own fault. We have an opportunity to still pull this thing out, but we need to call our own shots. And the people who are supposedly looking out for us, I don't see it. And really, when you think about it, how can you? If you're running an Asian tour, and I'm funding you and giving you information, how can I really, really look out? I can't, because it's not in me to do that. You know what I mean? I don't have that connection to the Asian culture. And I'm telling you, I know this sounds racist, but I'm telling you, heritage tourism is not PC. And I'll tell you, you get on a bus and you're doing a tour and somebody doesn't like you, people, their hackles raise. And it's unfortunate, but that's heritage tourism, man. And I've had people white who get on a bus and done some great tours and owned it in terms of people challenge them, and I heard them stand up and do the history and talk about the white component and be truthful and honest and authentic, and I've seen it work. but when you have governmental officials calling the shot, and think about it, wasn't it government who enslaved us, right? So you're thinking that government people are going to make your history right, and you're going to benefit? Um, I don't think so. And that's just my opinion. I really believe that. I mean, I love. I mean, I get all walks of life, black, white, red. We have some incredible discussions. I get people who want to talk about bringing down the monuments and feel that the monuments should be down, and we'll have debates. They're not heated, but we have these talks in the van and the bus, and I love the conversations because I can be on that side and then be on my side and understand it, and it's just an educational thing, and that's the glory of tourism, bro, because these people are coming and they are worldly people. They come with their experiences and they want to learn. When they're on your tour, they want to learn. They want to learn it all, and I just think that we have to be in charge of telling that story. And if we're not in charge of telling our story, then you're not going to have a story. I mean, you have to be in charge of the story. Then you got to make sure that people come after you and me, Doug. Can they make a living? And you can make a living, but the people who are supposedly running the show, in my mind, are not too concerned about how you're going to make a living. They're not creative enough to understand where you're coming from. It's not in them to do that. So that's my story, Doug.
Well, it was certainly a pleasure to have you on the Buffalo History Channel. And,
I appreciate it, man.
I mean, I remember last year when I saw them put up the archway, and then I made a statement on video. You can't talk about, I myself, I know I couldn't talk about anything about Michigan without referencing you.
I'm the bad guy. Oh, no.
You were the guy that kicked it off.
I'm the bad guy.
I remember from the 90s.
I'm the bad guy. My name is deleted from all of it.
Wow. Well, hopefully the Buffalo History Channel can work to change that now. Now that we got you.
I appreciate that it's on the record now, and I thank you for that. As an historian, I'm grateful because you are an historian. I'm a history lover. You are an historian. So thank you so much.
Hey, I learned from the best, Dr. Fordham and Dr. Vincent
Fordham.
Ash and the like.
Yes, we were blessed. I was blessed.
Oh, and of course, before we go, shout out to Betty Jean, Grant, and Sherry, because they had you on their show.
Betty Jean, I am so sorry. Because I channeled I channeled Collins and Walter Jones. And, oh, man, I had fun that morning, man.
I saw it.
I'm not even embarrassed.
I told Betty that show was keep that show. That's a classic.
And that's how we talk when I get with my buddies and we're on the block. When we debate, that's how we talk. We just, but I just let it go.
All right, brother.
All right, bro. Take care, man. Stay safe.
All right, my brother.
All right, take care.